Canelo Alvarez looked Terence Crawford dead in the eye and said, "You're nothing different." But what if he's wrong? Or worse, what if he's right? And that's exactly why Crawford's in trouble. This isn't just a clash of champions. This is legacy versus legacy, pride versus proof, and for the first time, we may see one of them fall. But that is not it. The pushing and getting into Canelo's face, it was all Bomac's idea. Let's get into his head, and really, Terence "Bud" Crawford hold a very big advantage in beating Canelo. So if you want to know how Canelo can hand Crawford his first loss, you should watch this video to the end.
I'm different than all the other ones.
No, I see you. No, you don't look different. You're nothing different.
I'm different.
Nothing different.
I'm different.
We'll see.
You're going to see.
We'll
You know
see.
it.
We'll see.
Israil Madrimov has shown us the vulnerability in Crawford's face. So the question is, can Canelo keep connecting? If Canelo Alvarez wants to hand Terence Crawford his first professional loss, it won't come from patience or potshotting. Crawford is too slick, too smart, and too adaptive. To beat Bud, Canelo must bring controlled aggression, and more importantly, he must attack the spaces no one else dares to explore. Crawford is brilliant at neutralizing straight-line attacks, but what he struggles with are well-timed side attacks, hooks from the flanks, crosses from angles, and uppercuts from close range. And it's only been tried once with real success. Back in 2014, Uriorki's Gamboa gave us a brief window into Crawford's vulnerability. Gamboa, undersized and overly aggressive, was landing clean hooks and crosses from sharp side angles. In round 4, he even buckled Crawford's legs, stanky legs, as the boxing world remembers. But Gamboa lacked the size, discipline, and durability to sustain the assault. Canelo, however, has all three. He's a master at attacking from the blind side, stepping outside the lead foot, delivering a thudding hook to the liver, and immediately following with a tight cross upstairs. These are the angles Crawford hates, and they're the ones Canelo must hunt. To execute this, Canelo must commit to staying on the front foot. No waiting, no reacting. He must be the aggressor, not reckless, but persistent. He needs to force Bud to give ground early. This is how Israil Madrimov found success in sparring sessions with Crawford. Madrimov's pressure, footwork, and willingness to punch through Crawford's slickness had Bud second-guessing his movements. If Canelo can draw from that blueprint, he can push Crawford into the ropes, where switching becomes less effective and defensive exits are limited. The ring must feel small for Crawford. But the most underused weapon against Crawford? The uppercut. For years, opponents have tried jabs, crosses, looping hooks, yet they've neglected the vertical strike. Bud's defensive shell, especially in southpaw stance, is built to block straight shots and roll hooks. But when he leans forward, particularly when trying to shoulder roll or pivot, the lane for the uppercut is wide open. Canelo throws a tight, compact uppercut better than most in the sport. He used it to break down Callum Smith's high guard, dismantle Billy Joe Saunders on the inside, and knock out Caleb Plant with precision. Against Crawford, he must target the chin when Bud dips in, especially after combinations. That third punch, the sneaky uppercut after a jab hook, might be the difference maker in this fight. Now let's talk about the mental battle, Crawford's famed switch hitting. It's what separates him from nearly every fighter today. He flows effortlessly from orthodox to southpaw, often mid-round, sometimes mid-combo. And most fighters get confused, back off, or lose rhythm. But Canelo cannot afford to respect the switch. In fact, he must disrupt it. When Crawford switches, Canelo should match him, not necessarily to outbox him in that stance, but to make things awkward. Especially when Bud is in southpaw, where his lead hand becomes his right jab and his power is in the left. That's his most dangerous version. Canelo should adopt a quick switch to orthodox, forcing lead hand battles and taking away Bud's outside angle advantage. This forces Crawford to think. It takes away his comfort. Forcing him to reset his offense each time he switches stance is like rebooting his game plan over and over. It buys Canelo precious seconds in each round, and it opens the door for disruption. Canelo doesn't need to be a full-time switch hitter. He just needs to be a momentary spoiler of Crawford's rhythm. Another crucial adjustment? Canelo must punch to the face, often and with variety. Many of Bud's past opponents targeted his body to slow him down, but this hasn't fazed him much. Against Canelo, it's the opposite. He must dig to the head, repeatedly. Jabs to the nose, crosses to the cheekbone, Short hooks to the temple. Crawford is so good at reading body language and timing that head punches, especially those thrown with layered speed and hesitation, can disguise intent and break timing. Canelo has the IQ and punch variation to fake a body shot and redirect to the face. These are the strikes that unsettle Bud's head movement and keep him defensive. Now let's go deeper into the defensive side of this fight. While Canelo must be the aggressor, he also needs to prepare for what's coming back at him, because make no mistake, Crawford will come forward. Bud is a master of psychological warfare inside the ring. He gives opponents the illusion that he's countering, that he's waiting, but the moment he smells hesitation, he switches gears and walks you down with ruthless composure. He did it to Errol Spence, to Kell Brook, to Sean Porter. And if Canelo doesn't sharpen his head movement and defensive anticipation, he will fall into the same trap. One of the most effective tools Canelo can use against this type of forward pressure is the pull counter. It's the same move that Floyd Mayweather weaponized to dismantle Canelo in their 2013 bout. It involves subtly leaning back to evade a jab or lead shot and immediately snapping back with a straight right hand. Against an aggressive fighter like Crawford, who sometimes gets overcommit when he's in stalker mode, a well-timed pull counter can freeze him in his tracks. Canelo has used this before, especially against smaller opponents who dared to pressure him, but he will need to sharpen it and time it flawlessly to punish Bud's forward bursts. However, the pull counter only works if your head movement is sharp, and that's where Canelo has shown some decline in recent years. Against Bivol and even John Ryder, his head was more stationary than we've seen in his prime. If he stands too upright or relies too much on the high guard, Crawford will simply punch around it or break it down with rhythm-changing combinations. This isn't the kind of fight where Canelo can just shell up and wait. He needs to slip, roll, bend, and pivot, keeping Crawford guessing. He can't just absorb punches. He must make Bud miss, then make him pay. This brings us to something often forgotten. Canelo's loss to Floyd Mayweather may be his greatest lesson. That fight exposed his defensive immaturity, yes, but it also laid the foundation for the defensive wizard he became afterward. He started slipping punches with waist movement, cutting off the ring more intelligently, and countering with precision. Against Crawford, Canelo must revisit that playbook. Watch the Mayweather fight. Study how Floyd made him miss. Not to mimic it entirely, but to remind himself of the value of subtle defensive shifts. Because this fight is not just about firepower, it's about not being a stationary target. If Canelo sharpens his pull counters, tightens his head movement, and injects Mayweather-like poise into his defense, he can create moments of vulnerability in Crawford. He must make Crawford pay every time he steps in. Make him doubt the wisdom of pressure. And once that seed of hesitation is planted, Canelo can return to what he does best, breaking fighters down, shot by shot, from the inside out. In a fight like this, where skill meets skill and brain meets brain, the one who defends better usually survives longer. Crawford will press. He will switch. He will test every layer of Canelo's armor. But if Canelo is prepared to slip, pull, and fire like the defensive genius he once studied under, this fight becomes a lot less one-sided and a lot more winnable. To sum it up, Canelo must go where others haven't dared. He must attack from the side with punishing hooks and crosses like Gamboa once did, but finish what Gamboa couldn't. He must weaponize the uppercut, a tool so few have used against Crawford, and punish Bud's forward lean and mid-combo openings. He must stay on the front foot, smothering space like Israil Madrimov did in sparring, showing Bud no respect. He must punch up top, hammering the head to distort rhythm. And when Crawford tries to outsmart him with switch hitting, Canelo must say, "Not today," and switch with him, not to mimic, but to disrupt. Who do you think wins this super fight? Let me know in the comment section. Remember to like this video and share to the boxing community.